Hey everyone. Okay, we're trying this. Third time is a charm. We just conked out because of a storm here, and last week it was other technology issues. So I am determined to talk about what you can do to reduce brain inflammation. So last week I talked about how difficulty with learning, behavior, mental health, and so forth is often connected to brain inflammation. Is it the only cause? Absolutely not, but it's definitely a factor that you want to address if these difficulties are going on. Basically, until you address the brain inflammation and the triggers and so forth, you're going to be on that merry-go-round of IEPs, tutoring, remedial reading, behavior plans, parenting strategies, and even supplements. So I work with parents who are, savvy, they're well-intentioned, and they're trying different supplements that help to reduce inflammation. One thing that parents often start with is omega-3s, but there's all kinds of other supplements as well. These things are not bad, but you want to find out what's causing the inflammation. You don't want to just try and focus on reducing it with supplements, because then you're just, again, in that management zone. And we want to get out of managing into overcoming. So number one thing you want to do is you want to address what's causing the inflammation. Most times it's more than one thing. And so I'm going to go through a list of the top triggers of brain inflammation. And I want you to let me know in the comments below if you suspect or know if any of these are a factor. And then I'm going to give you some tips on what you can do to start, reducing brain inflammation in your child today. So triggers for brain inflammation are things like poor diet. And that could be a diet that's high in sugar, preservatives, additives, all that type of stuff. And then also for kids who have, difficulties with detoxification and drainage and so forth, diets that just have, pesticides. So maybe, your one child is able to handle that, but this more sensitive child is not able to. They have a different, genetic makeup and so forth. A lot of kids, GMOs are the thing that really can cause an impact in terms of inflammation and so forth. So again, don't base it on the fact that, well, the other kids in the house are fine. I see this a lot, even whenever parents, think, no, there can't be mold because my, 2 or 3 other children are fine. And then sure enough, they get a test or, whatever the case may be. And they find out that, yes, this is a factor and it's impacting this particular child on a more profound level. So you also want to look at eliminating. Number one thing you want to do, whether you suspect brain inflammation or not, is reducing chemicals in the home, such as cleaning products, bathroom products, all of that type of stuff. And then you want to look into gut health. And gut health is deep in terms of candida, parasites, stealth strep infections, mold, Lyme. All of those things are going to dysregulate the immune system. It's going to cause all kinds of issues with toxicity, brain inflammation, and so forth. Food sensitivities I've talked about before. So usually it's not just one food sensitivity. Sometimes we're lucky and there is just one trigger, but oftentimes there's multiple factors, and we want to work on healing the gut, regulating or modulating the immune system, because we don't want to just focus on removing, say, 35 foods that your child tested for, at a naturopath, functional medicine, MD, or whatever the case may be. You want to look at sleep. Quality sleep is key. It's like one of the best ways to reset the nervous system and reduce inflammation. So your child might be getting sleep, but it doesn't mean they're getting quality sleep or getting into the right, brain waves and so forth, and all of that type of stuff to really be able to, for the body to be able to do is detoxification, repairing, and reducing inflammation. Things like brain injury, concussions can also contribute to brain inflammation. So you can see how the more hits that your child has in terms of the more triggers they've been exposed to, the worse this is likely going to be. Stress trauma is another one, right? So there's the physical trauma like a concussion or head injury, and then there's an emotional or mental trauma like stress. Could be divorce, it could be abuse, it could be bullying. There's so many layers, and it's also just how we on a personal level interpret experiences, if they're going to be traumatic to us versus to others. And then also you want to look at prenatal autoimmunity. So does mom have an autoimmune condition that she's either aware or not aware of, like Hashimoto's? Inflammation can begin in utero. So inflammation occurs when the body is trying to protect your child from a trigger. And so maternal inflammation can actually affect genetic expression and be passed on. So this is why it's important to look at deeper layers and triggers. Whenever, I work with parents and they say, well, ADHD or dyslexia or ASD runs in the family. Okay, maybe it does, but why? Is it really just some evil gene, some curse that's running through the family that's causing all kinds of problems? Or is it related to genetic expression or, a food sensitivity like, say, celiac that runs in the family? Or in my case, I passed on strep infection, certain parasites, as well as candida and heavy metals onto my daughter. So oldest children are more likely to receive to have the most issues because they will get the mother's toxic load. They're getting the highest toxic load. And so that's why you want to look at, is it genetic or is it like family exposure to toxins and triggers and so forth and irritants? So where do you start? So the first thing I tell people in my 6-month program, the Full Potential Formula, is slow, simple, and sustainable. If you try to take on too much too fast, you're going to be super motivated in the beginning, and then you're going to crash and burn, and you're going to want to throw in the towel. So you really want to do simple approaches, and the simplest place that I can recommend starting if you're new to this is minimizing, reducing sugar. It doesn't mean you have to go crazy, eliminating it completely. That's going to be the most anti-inflammatory thing you can do to start. Minimizing the amount of carbs. So if your kid is eating carbs morning, noon, and night, and that's like 60 to 70% of their diet, you really want to work on crowding that out with something else. You also want to work on supporting drainage and detoxification. A lot of people are all rah-rah over detoxification these days, but you want to make sure that drainage is occurring and that, those organs are able to actually move out those toxins when you get into the detoxification process. You also want to address food sensitivities. You may have to permanently remove certain foods. My goal is always, hopefully, for the most part, to remove them temporarily, heal the gut, modulate the immune system, bring down the inflammation, and then bring in those food, hopefully be able to add certain or most of those foods back in once your child's body is in a better place. Quality sleep, that's a huge one that we go into deep detail in the program, the Full Potential Formula, but you want to look at what can you do, what are factors that could be disrupting your child's sleep, and it could be everything from parasites to gut health, to nutrient deficiencies, to what they're being exposed to during the day. So EMFs, melatonin levels, right, get really affected by EMFs. Not enough morning sun is going to bring down your melatonin in the evening. It goes on and on and on. Artificial light. So minimizing that, getting your kid to get lots of water, sunlight, getting outside, playing, doing all those kid things that we did 30 years ago before screens took over our world. This is definitely not about parenting guilt. I think that managing screen time is definitely one of the biggest challenge of parenting in our time, but just to keep that in mind. And the other factor, which I kind of mentioned, is you do want to absolutely address stealth infections like parasites, candida, mold, Lyme, the list goes on and on. So let me know in the comments below, first of all, does any of this make sense? Which ones do you think are triggers for your child or children? And what are 1 to 2 simple changes that you can make today and start working towards in a sane, simple, and sustainable way to get your child in a better place, to reduce that inflammation so that they feel happier, calmer, more confident, and are better able to learn and self-regulate their emotions? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to learn more about this, be sure to join my free training tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern, where I'm going to be talking about the 4 top ways that you can basically power up your child's brain this summer without feeling like you're doing all kinds of crazy things during summer in a simple and sustainable way to get your child in a better place so that you have a saner, happier summer, and so does your child, but also so that they're starting the school year, whether some people it starts in August, some people in September, regardless of when you're starting, that your child is going to start with a more nourished, happier, calmer, more regulated brain. And we're going to look at everything from recipes, key nutrients, top foods, exercises, routines, supplements, and so forth tomorrow. So you definitely don't want to miss out. I will put the link for that in the comments below. If you haven't already signed up, make sure you do. I look forward to seeing you there. Have a fantastic day. Bye.